Hi everybody, I'm Greg Fishel. Welcome to bonus weather video number 2 for this week, and we're going to talk about the 2023 hurricane season forecast issued by Colorado State University. These guys were the pioneers in putting out seasonal forecasts. Bill Gray did it for many, many years, and he passed away. And then Philip Klotzbach actually has taken over since then and has done an equally phenomenal job. So let's go on ahead and talk about this. And I'm going to say, in all honesty, that this is the official we don't know forecast. All right, so these are the least active hurricane seasons since 1990, okay? 91 through 94, 97, 2009, and 2014 all had less than 10 named storms, and all but one had less than 5 hurricanes, and all had 2 or less major hurricanes. Now, there was a major El Nino in 91 and 92. 93 and 94, you can't relate to El Nino because it was pretty much neutral, so there were other factors going on those years. And then 1997, 2009, and 2014 all had major El Ninos. And El Nino is known to be a suppressant for Atlantic hurricanes because it creates strong winds in the upper atmosphere coming from the west across low latitudes, across the tropics. And when you have systems moving from east to west and you have the winds in the upper atmosphere moving the opposite direction, it basically shears the system apart and doesn't give it a chance to develop because hurricanes are trying to accumulate heat in a centralized location. And this is almost like strong winds blowing across a chimney. It basically sucks the heat right out of your living room if you have the flue open. So it's that type of effect. So numbers don't matter, at least not to me anyways, only impact. In 1992, Hurricane Andrew struck South Florida. Andrew is one of only 3 Category 5 storms to ever make landfall in the United States. The other 2 are Camille in 1969 and the Labor Day hurricane that hit the Florida Keys in 1935, and that was before they were naming storms. But it was a quote-unquote below normal season. Let me go back here. 1992, 7 named storms, 4 hurricanes, and 1 major hurricane. So it was a below normal season. But do not tell anybody in Homestead, Florida, that this was a below normal season because they were basically obliterated by this storm. Now, this is the Colorado State University forecast for 2023. Number of named storms, 13, slightly below the average of 14.4. Named storm days, 55, below the average of 69.4. That's the number of days in the season that you would have a named storm somewhere in the Atlantic Basin. Same principle with hurricanes and hurricane days and major hurricanes and major hurricane days. And then at the bottom there, you see something called accumulated cyclone energy. Well, what the heck is that? All right, well, let's talk about it just a little bit. You take the square of the maximum sustained wind speed in the storm. Okay, so this can be a tropical storm or a hurricane. Whatever the maximum sustained wind speed is when an advisory comes out, you take that wind speed and you square it. Then you divide that number by 10,000 because when you start to get into the stronger storms and you square that number, then it gets to be out of hand. So you divide it by 10,000 and it makes it a much more reasonable value. And then you add those values every 6 hours, which is the frequency that advisories are issued from the National Hurricane Center for a given storm. And then, oh, and by the way, kinetic energy is proportional to the square of the velocity. So that's why they square that number, because it gives you an idea as to how much kinetic energy is involved with that particular storm. And then you add all the values up for all the storms every 6 hours until the season is over, and that gives you the accumulated cyclone energy for that season. Now, here are the classification criteria. If the ACE value is above, and ACE is the acronym for accumulated cyclone energy, if it's extremely active, it's above 159.6, above normal, above 126.1, near normal, 73 to 126.1, and they're forecasting a value of about 100 for this season. So that's pretty much in the near normal category. And then below normal would be below 73. And the percent of the median from 1951 to 2020, so whatever that median is, extremely active is above 165% of that value. Above normal is above 130%. Normal is 75 to 130%. And below normal is below 75% of the median value. And these are the most active seasons with regard to accumulated cyclone energy. 1933 topping the list at 258.57, and then 2005 was that incredible year where we had 28 named storms. We had to go into the Greek alphabet, if you remember that, and that was also the year that Katrina hit as well. So that's in second place. And then you have 1893, 1926, 1995, all the way down to 1998. Now, notice that 1992, the year Andrew hit, is not on that list. Why? Because to get a high value of accumulated cyclone energy, you either have to have a ton of storms or you've got to have a significant number of very, very strong storms, okay? If you just have one biggie, which is the case in 1992, and the rest of the storms, the few that there were, weren't nearly as strong, you're not going to get a high ACE value. And so that season does not even show up on this list. So why is there so much uncertainty? And when you read the official forecast from Colorado State, they admit that there's more uncertainty with this forecast for this season than there normally is. There's always some degree of uncertainty, but they're careful to point out there's more this year than normal. Well, the reason is that after 3 consecutive years with La Nina, we appear to be heading toward an El Nino. We're basically in a neutral state now, and all of the forecasts indicate that we'll be heading into a El Nino by the end of this year. However, we don't know how quickly it's going to develop, and perhaps more importantly, we don't know how strong it will be. You have strong El Ninos, moderate El Ninos, weak El Ninos, and so we don't know right now how strong it's going to be if indeed it develops. Yes, a greater number of storms does increase the probability of a storm coming your way. If there are more dominoes out there, the chance is greater that one of them is going to fall on you. But I would make this argument in the end, and just talk to the folks at Homestead, Florida about Andrew. It only takes one. If there was only one storm the entire season, and it was a Category 4 or Category 5 hurricane that hit a major populated area, those folks will never buy the argument that it was a below normal season, because the impact to them was huge. And so while it is interesting to me to talk about if it's going to be an active season, an inactive season, or a near normal season, it really in the end doesn't matter. It only matters how strong they are and where they go. And that last one is probably the most important of all. All right, that is bonus weather video number 2 for this week. Hope you have a wonderful, wonderful weekend. Watch out for the thunderstorms scattered about Saturday afternoon, late Saturday afternoon, and Saturday evening. And we'll talk to you again on Monday, and the next bonus video will be coming up on Tuesday. All right, folks, again, have a great weekend, and we'll talk to you soon. See you later.